being a sex worker is criminalized more and harder than paying someone for sex work. Very interesting how that works. But if you know what like the clientele of a lot of like trans sex workers is, then it kind of makes sense. You understood what is the appeal to relating your arguments to common sense? It's just people, you know, stupid people, right? It's like, oh, you do not need a fundamental understanding or like a deeper understanding of this specific thing. That what you learned in 3rd grade is actually sufficient for you to be an expert on it. And it's just making stupid people have like confidence, right? That's kind of like what it is. You know, people going like, oh, XY equals man, XX equals woman. Haha, that's just common sense. And it's like, okay, so actually, if you have XY chromosomes, that doesn't even mean that you are a male because intersex people exist, right? The SRY gene is what determines whether or not your gonads are dropping. And sometimes that is located on the X chromosome, and sometimes that's missing on the Y chromosome. So, you know, actually that is factually incorrect. That is just biology. That is advanced biology. But you are basing off your arguments of what you learned in 3rd grade, which is like overly simplified, right? Back then you didn't even learn what like the square root of -1 is, right? It's like you're being taught the entire time that this doesn't work. You cannot draw negative numbers, right? There's no square root of a negative number. You can't do that. That's just like common sense. And then you go into like any freaking electrical engineering class, and then it's like, yeah, actually we need that to better understand circuits and stuff like that, like current, right? So like common sense is literally just a tool in order to keep uneducated people uneducated and have like confidence in their idiocracy. They are just uneducated on specific things, and they just like listen to like these arguments that sound reasonable to them. The same with like, oh, men shouldn't play in women's sports. That's just common sense. And then it's like, okay, you're talking about trans women who've been on HRT for such a long time. The advantages from testosterone are non-existent and so on. Everybody in sports has like advantages, especially at like a high level, right? Like Michael Phelps has like an inhumane body that is giving him an advantage in swimming. If you look at like a basketball, you're not like, oh, this person is 2 meters and 10 centimeters, so that is like an unfair biological advantage. We should like kick them out. It just like doesn't make sense. And if you like explain these things and they're like, oh, no, actually you know everything already that there is about this topic, so you just need common sense. It's like you're not going to go to like a doctor who is going to prescribe you certain things based on common sense, right? I mean, to be fair, right? These nut jobs believe that vaccines cause autism because that's just common sense. That's just, you know, that's what my environment is telling me, so that's just like the common understanding of certain things. And it's like, yeah, it was common sense that the earth is flat at one point. And in some areas, in some circles, in some communities, it is common sense that the earth is flat. That doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's accurate. It doesn't mean this is actually explaining how the world works. It just means that you are refusing to look deeper into something because you are being brainwashed by people who are telling you that you don't actually need a fundamental understanding of something in order to give your opinion on it, and it is sufficient to just regurgitate the talking points of other ignorant bigots. That's just what it means with common sense. Oh, everybody just has common sense. We learned that in 3rd grade. It is common sense that men shouldn't be in women's prison because they're all predators and so on. And then it's like, okay, so trans women are women. You're shoving trans women into men's spaces where something like recoding is happening, where they're basically being sold to aggressive males in order to like keep them calm. Is that something that you like approve of? You think that like trans women should get in men's prison? Is that your common sense? Is that your understanding of it? Is that something that you subscribe to? And then like you explain these things, and a lot of people are like, well, that actually sounds kind of shitty. If they have like empathy. The thing is, like, a lot of people, especially when it comes to prisons, you're telling like these things like, hey, you know, should women be in men's prison. Is that something that you subscribe to? They're like, oh yeah, but like if these men wouldn't do bad things, then they wouldn't end up in prisons. So actually they just deserve it and I don't care about them. The same way they dehumanize like homeless people. It's like, oh, why should I care about these homeless people on the street? They're just like littering everything and they're drug addicts and abusers and so on, and they're lazy and they don't work hard enough. Why should I care about them actually having like a home and like a future and like the opportunity to have like a job or something, right? Like that is like, you know, their common sense. This dehumanizing language and so on is basically like shaping their view on a lot of things. And if they do not have empathy, if they don't have compassion, if they don't view you know, trans people as people, as human beings, but just as like some ideology, if they view I don't know, homeless people like some, you know, some pest. The same with like, you know, these people in power, right-wingers, using language like the parasite class and, you know, the leeches and so on. Like, of course, a lot of people are just going to not actually hear these people out, right? If they are saying that like, oh, the woke mind virus is spreading, that they're infecting the children with their harmful ideology, like obviously it is shifting the perception of a lot of people of what it means to be trans. And if we're like talking about these things that need a deeper understanding, if they refuse to listen to us or even other cis people who are talking about us because they have like no empathy for us, then it makes it incredibly difficult to convince them of anything, right? There's like a no level of understanding. There's no common ground, right? And the common ground is, it should be that like, oh, trans people are people that are human beings. The same when it comes to like women, right? There's so many guys, or, you know, to be fair, women who think that women are just objects that exist for men. The only purpose of a woman is to get pregnant with a man's child. That is just like something that just like makes it incredibly difficult to talk to these people, to reach these people and to be able to change their mind, right? It's not about like convincing them of anything. It's like explaining and giving them the information so they can like form their opinion better. But if they refuse to listen to that, you're literally just talking against the wall, and it doesn't matter how good your argument is. It doesn't matter what you're using in order to like convince them. That is like the problem, right? Don't get me wrong, a prison should be uncomfortable, but it should provide a way for people to become better so they can get back into a normal, healthy society. Yeah, but like that is actually not profitable for the prisons. You know, rehabilitation and so on, and like fixing systemic issues. Nope. Gotta make it so they get arrested again. You know, like prisons are just there to like make profits, not actually help people. And, you know, when it comes to like trans people arrested, like the overwhelming majority of trans people getting arrested is because they're, you know, involved in like sex work or drug abuse or something like that. And I think if you're like a sex worker, you shouldn't go to jail. Sex work is work. But even if you believe that, you know, sex work should be criminalized, you know, it's also like kind of telling that like being a sex worker is criminalized more and harder than paying someone for sex work. Very interesting how that works. But if you know what like the clientele of a lot of like trans sex workers is, then it kind of makes sense. Everybody